Welcome to AI Unraveled, your weekly strategic briefing. I'm your host, Etienne Numen. This episode is sponsored by JamgaMind. If you want to skip the ads and get straight to the intelligence, click the link in our show notes for our premium ads-free feed at JamgaMind. This was the week the floor moved. From the Supreme Court's definitive ruling on human authorship to the Pentagon blacklisting Anthropic, the rules of the game have changed. We're unraveling OpenAI's move to build its own GitHub, the launch of the $599 MacBook Neo, and why Ben Affleck is now a senior advisor at Netflix. Let's get into the news. Before we dive into today's deep dive, a quick note for the brands listening. If you are trying to reach the architects of the AI revolution, not just the tourists, but the technical leaders actually building the stack, we are opening up limited partnership spots for Q1. See how we can simulate your product for the technical buyer at jamgamind.com/partners.
Welcome in, everyone.
Hey there.
I'm absolutely thrilled you are joining us today.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one.
It really is. But before we jump into anything else, I want to proudly state that today's audio intelligence is brought to you by JamgaMind.
Fantastic team.
Truly incredible. They're the team helping us bring this deep dive straight to your ears, and we're just incredibly grateful for their support.
Absolutely.
So let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
You and I, we've been watching this technology space evolve at this just absolute breakneck pace for years now.
Right.
But sitting here looking at the data that has crossed our desks over the past week,
And it is a lot of data.
it's a massive stack. As two senior AI policy and infrastructure analysts, we are noticing a massive, undeniable structural shift.
It is a profound shift. I mean, for the longest time, the narrative you've been sold,
Yeah.
and frankly, the reality we've all been operating under, it was defined by that classic Silicon Valley ethos.
A whole move fast and break things. Yeah.
Exactly. Move fast, break things. The tech companies were entirely in the driver's seat.
Right.
They set the pace, they rewrote the rules on the fly, and they essentially dragged the rest of global society along for the ride.
Whether we want it to go or not.
Right. But as we comb through our latest stack of material today, it is abundantly clear that the era of unchecked, frictionless momentum is effectively over.
It's done.
It's done. What we are witnessing right now is what we are calling the institutional counterattack.
The institutional counterattack. I absolutely love that phrasing.
It fits, right?
It captures the friction perfectly, the immovable objects of our society.
The really big players.
Right. The federal courts, the military-industrial complex, the legacy tech giants, and honestly, even you, the everyday consumer.
Yeah.
They are finally striking back. The institutions are planting their flags and aggressively asserting control over artificial intelligence.
Because they have to.
Exactly. And today, we are looking at a truly wild stack of information.
It's all over the map.
We've got recent U.S. Supreme Court decisions.
Yeah.
We have the White House's newly unveiled National Cybersecurity Strategy.
Official Pentagon blacklists.
Right. Leaked technical specs for unreleased Apple hardware.
That one's huge.
And reports on a massive consumer backlash that is actually forcing billion-dollar AI models to rewrite their own personalities.
And this is why you really need to pay attention to this shift.
Why should you care, right?
Exactly. Why should you care about a bunch of legal filings and hardware specs?
Yeah.
Because this counterattack dictates not just what artificial intelligence is technologically capable of doing.
Right, of the specs.
Right. But who actually gets to control it? Who gets to own the creative output?
And who can weaponize it.
Ultimately, yes. Who is legally permitted to weaponize it in your daily life?
Wow.
We are transitioning from a wide open question of, what can AI do?
To what will human institutions actually allow it to do?
Exactly. And the answers we are seeing in the data this week are complicated, contradictory, and incredibly high stakes.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Sure.
We have to start with the foundational legal battle.
The courts.
Because the courts are drawing a very hard line in the sand regarding what an AI actually is in the eyes of the law.
Right.
I was reading through this recent U.S. Supreme Court decision.
The copyright one.
Yeah, and they just made a massive move by declining to hear a specific copyright case.
Which is a decision in itself.
By refusing to hear it, They are leaving the lower court rulings firmly in place.
Yeah.
And the language in those lower court rulings is intense.
It really is.
They state that human authorship is a, quote, bedrock requirement of copyright law.
Bedrock.
Right. Can you break down the specific case that triggered this?
Absolutely.
Because it seems like a pretty definitive line in the sand.
It is the ultimate line in the sand. To give you the specific context from the filings, this case centered around a computer scientist named Stephen Thaler.
Okay.
He built an artificial intelligence system that he named Davis. Right. Now, what's crucial here is that Fowler didn't want the copyright for himself.
He didn't want his own name on it.
No. He actually sought copyright protection for an image that was generated independently by Davis.
Wow.
And his core legal argument was that the machine itself was the creator.
He wanted the AI recognized as the author?
Exactly. And the courts at every single level have consistently shut this down.
And, didn't he try something similar with patents a while back?
He did. Yeah, it is worth noting that Thaler previously tried this exact same maneuver in the patent arena.
Right.
He tried to get Davis legally recognized as an inventor on a patent for a new type of beverage container.
And how did that go?
He lost that battle too.
Of course.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see exactly what the legal institution is desperately trying to do.
Keep it in a box.
Yes, the courts are trying to keep AI permanently boxed into the category of a tool.
Just a tool.
Think of it like a very advanced paintbrush or a highly complex digital camera.
Right. A camera doesn't hold the copyright to a photograph.
The photographer does, exactly. By enforcing this bedrock requirement of human authorship, the legal system is trying to maintain human supremacy over creation.
They are legally defining AI as something that possesses absolutely zero agency.
Zero. It is a passive instrument wielded by a human, not an agent acting on its own.
So U.S. intellectual property law is taking a completely unified stance here.
Very unified.
Fully autonomous AI systems simply cannot be recognized as authors or inventors, period.
Period.
And what's fascinating is seeing how the massive entertainment platforms are scrambling to align themselves with this exact, tool, not agent legal framework.
Why they have to protect their assets.
Let's look at the movement we're seeing from Netflix.
Okay.
They just announced they are acquiring a filmmaking technology startup called InterPositive.
Oh, yeah, the Ben Affleck one.
Yeah. This is a company that was founded by the actor Ben Affleck back in 2022.
Right.
And Affleck is actually joining Netflix as a senior advisor as part of the deal. But when I look at what InterPositive actually does, it's very specific.
How so?
They are built for post-production editing.
Ah.
Fixing continuity issues, tweaking the lighting in a scene, replacing backgrounds.
So no deepfakes.
No. Why is Netflix targeting this specific type of AI rather than, say, a company that generates synthetic actors?
Because of that exact legal boundary we just talked about.
A copyright issue.
Right. What is InterPositive explicitly not doing? They are not generating whole-cloth synthetic performances.
Okay.
They aren't creating a digital actor that delivers lines. Netflix is very carefully and very strategically acquiring generative AI that fits perfectly into that court-mandated definition of a tool.
Right. Just a very smart paintbrush.
Exactly. Adjusting the lighting on a human actor's face or fixing a continuity error where a coffee cup is in the wrong hand.
Game of Thrones style.
Yeah, exactly. That is special effects work.
Right.
It's something Netflix has already been doing and telling their investors they're well-positioned to scale.
So by keeping the AI relegated to post-production cleanup,
They are staying firmly on the safe side of the legal line.
they ensure that the human actors and the human directors remain the undeniable, legally recognized authors.
Of the content, yes.
Yeah.
They protect their copyright by keeping the AI in the toolbox.
That makes perfect sense. And Apple Music is approaching this exact same boundary from a different angle.
What are they doing?
I was looking at their latest update, and they are introducing these new metadata tags for the music uploaded to their platform.
Oh, interesting.
It allows record labels and distributors to flag when AI-generated or AI-assisted content is part of a song.
Okay, so just labeling it.
But it's not just a blanket, AI was used here sticker. It's incredibly granular.
Right, the granularity is the key takeaway there.
Yeah.
Distributors can mark specific, isolated parts of a release.
Like what?
They can flag just the album artwork, or just the backing track,
Okay.
or the composition itself, or elements of the music video.
So they are providing the architecture to clearly delineate exactly where the human's work ends and the machine's work begins.
Precisely. Now, this system is opt-in.
Okay.
Similar to the tagging system Spotify is experimenting with.
Right.
So labels have to manually choose to flag it.
Right.
But the very existence of this infrastructure,
The fact that they built it.
the fact that Apple felt compelled to build it into the core metadata of the platform, it reinforces this institutional anxiety.
The human institution demands clear boundaries.
They need to know exactly what is human so they know exactly what can be copyrighted and monetized.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Okay.
We have the Supreme Court and the massive entertainment conglomerates bending over backward to categorize AI as just a dumb, passive tool.
Right.
But then we look at what the tech sector is actually building right now.
It's a totally different story.
The reality of the technology is completely fracturing that legal fiction.
Totally.
OpenAI literally just launched GPT-5.4 this past Thursday.
Massive release.
And looking at the specs, calling this thing a passive tool feels almost laughable at this point.
It is entirely inaccurate to call it a passive tool.
Yeah.
GPT-5.4 is a new foundation model designed specifically for complex multi-step professional work.
Okay.
It is available through their API in 3 distinct tiers:
What are they?
Standard, Thinking, and Pro.
Got it.
And it boasts up to a 1 million token context window.
1 million.
Yes. For those who might not track token counts, a 1 million token window means the AI can hold roughly 750,000 words,
Wow.
which is about the length of 10 thick novels
10 novels.
in its active memory at any given time.
That's insane.
It can reference all of that data simultaneously to make decisions.
Okay.
But the raw memory isn't what shatters the legal definition of a tool.
What is it then?
What you really need to look at are the benchmarks it is hitting.
The benchmarks are what caught my eye immediately.
Yeah.
The data shows GPT 5.4 is posting absolute record scores on OSSA's World Verified,
Yep.
Web Arena Verified, and Mercer's Apex Agents test for law and finance.
Exactly.
And apparently it's doing this while using significantly fewer tokens, which saves money.
Because of tool search.
Right, thanks to a newly introduced feature called Tool Search. But I want to ask you about these specific benchmarks.
Sure.
Because OS World Verified isn't a reading comprehension test, right?
No, not at all.
What exactly is this benchmark measuring?
That is the crucial distinction. OS World Verified and Web Arena Verified are not tests of how well an AI writes a polite email.
Right.
Or how well it summarizes a PDF document.
Okay.
They are tests of how well an artificial intelligence can autonomously navigate a standard computer operating system and the open web.
Autonomously.
Yes. They measure the AI's ability to act as an autonomous desktop user.
Like a human sitting at the desk.
Exactly. We are talking about the AI actively moving a digital cursor across the screen.
Wow.
Clicking on specific links, opening native applications like Excel or web browser,
Typing in data.
typing in data and executing complex multi-step workflows without a human holding its hand or prompting it at every step.
So if I say, audit these 3 spreadsheets, compare them to this website's pricing, and email the discrepancy to my boss.
It just takes control of the desktop and does it.
That is wild.
Precisely. And that new feature you mentioned, Tool Search,
Yeah,
is what makes this economically viable.
that's
Instead of the AI needing to load every single possible instruction into its memory at once,
which would be super expensive.
which costs a fortune in computing power, yeah.
Yeah.
Tool Search allows the AI to autonomously search for and select the specific digital tools it needs for a specific microtask.
Oh, I see.
Use them and then discard them.
It makes the AI an independent problem solver.
Exactly.
So the tension here is just palpable.
You can feel it.
You have the highest court in the land issuing rulings based on the rigid premise that AI has no agency,
Right.
that it is merely a paintbrush waiting for a human hand. Meanwhile, the biggest tech company in the world is actively releasing software that can autonomously operate your entire desktop environment.
Taking distinct actions.
Right. And making localized decisions as an independent agent.
It's a total contradiction.
The courts say AI has no autonomy, but the tech sector is actively commercializing fully autonomous digital workers.
It is a massive slow-motion collision course.
That's a great way to put it.
The legal institution is essentially trying to govern a technology that no longer exists.
The simple chatbot of 3 years ago.
Right. Meanwhile, the technology that does exist is rapidly outpacing the legal frameworks designed to cage it.
Yeah.
It's like trying to regulate a self-driving car using the rulebook for a horse-drawn carriage.
It just doesn't work.
No. And if you think the tension between the federal courts and Silicon Valley is high,
Oh, boy.
wait until we look at what happens when these autonomous capabilities intersect with the most powerful, well-funded institution on Earth.
The military-industrial complex. That is the perfect pivot, because the highest stakes battleground we are tracking in our sources today is absolutely national security.
Without a doubt.
The U.S. Department of War, effectively the Pentagon,
Right.
has officially blacklisted Anthropic.
Huge news.
They have labeled the company a supply chain risk to national security.
Yeah.
Now, I saw the specific statute cited was 10 U.S.C. 3252.
That's the one.
What exactly does that statute allow the government to do?
It's powerful.
Because a supply chain risk sounds like bureaucratic paperwork, but my understanding is this is incredibly serious.
It is not just paperwork. It is a highly punitive designation.
Okay.
For those who aren't steeped in defense procurement law, Statute 10 U.S.C. 3252 grants the Department of Defense the authority to exclude a source.
Meaning a specific company.
Right, a company or contractor. It excludes them from the military supply chain if they determine that the company presents a risk to national security.
So they just cut them out.
It effectively allows the Pentagon to say, not only are we not buying from you, we are mandating that none of our other contractors can use your core technology in the systems they build for us.
Wow. It's a quarantine.
It is a quarantine. And the reason behind this designation is where the core philosophical conflict lies.
What happened?
According to the filings, the Pentagon issued this blacklist after Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, explicitly refused to give the U.S. military unrestricted access to their technology.
And Amodei drew a very specific line in the sand, right?
He did.
It wasn't just a blanket anti-military stance.
Correct. He specifically objected to their AI models being used for two things:
Okay.
mass domestic surveillance and fully autonomous weapons systems.
Let's focus on that second one.
We need to be clear about that second term. Autonomous kinetic warfare is the specific military term for physical, lethal combat.
Right.
It means giving an AI the ability to identify a physical target and deploy lethal force.
Firing a missile, dropping a bomb, steering a drone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without a human pulling the trigger. Amodei said absolutely not to that, and the Pentagon responded with a blacklist.
Now, to fully understand the government's position and why they reacted so aggressively to Anthropic's refusal, we have to look at the broader cybersecurity landscape that is being shaped right now by the current administration.
We do.
We have the details of a newly unveiled 7-page national cybersecurity strategy released by the White House under President Trump.
Right.
And I want to pause here and be very clear with you listening. As analysts, our mandate on this deep dive is strict impartiality.
Absolutely.
We are not here to endorse this strategy, and we are not here to condemn it.
No.
Our job is simply to report the facts contained in the source material so you understand the geopolitical chessboard that these tech companies are being forced to play on.
That's right. We analyze the text, not the politics.
Right?
This new 7-page strategy marks a very distinct break from past administrative approaches.
How so?
Historically, cyber strategy has leaned heavily on defense and deterrence.
Building higher digital walls.
Building higher walls, right?
Yeah.
This new document places offensive cyber operations at the absolute center of U.S. policy.
Offensive?
Yes. The strategy is built on 6 distinct pillars. Chief among them is the mandate to disrupt adversaries preemptively before they can launch an attack on U.S. infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
It also heavily focuses on cutting back on cyber regulations for private businesses,
Deregulation.
modernizing federal networks, using AI, and implementing what is called zero-trust architecture.
Let's define that really quickly, because zero trust sounds like a buzzword, but it's actually a very specific IT framework.
Yes. For those who haven't built network infrastructure, zero trust basically means the system assumes a breach has already happened.
Oh, interesting.
In older networks, once you logged in and passed the firewall, you were trusted to roam around the internal network.
Right, you're inside the castle.
Exactly. Zero trust requires constant, continuous verification from every single user and device, even those already deep inside the network perimeter.
So it never stops checking your ID.
It operates on the principle of never trust. Always verify for every single digital interaction.
And along with those defensive modernizations, our sources also note that for the first time ever, a national cybersecurity strategy explicitly references cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology as elements of the national cyber posture.
That is a first.
Now, this highly aggressive, preemptive posture has its detractors. We are seeing critics of the strategy warn that pushing offensive operations and pursuing deep deregulation could inadvertently expose critical domestic systems.
Right.
They argue that preemptive strikes could actively invite retaliatory cyber attacks from hostile state actors.
The blowback.
Exactly. Again, we aren't taking a side on whether this offensive pivot is the right or wrong approach for the country, but we absolutely have to understand that this strategy is the official operational playbook the Pentagon is now executing.
And what's fascinating here is the ideological head-on collision.
Yeah.
If you look at the board, on one side you had the United States government actively pivoting toward an aggressive, offensive, preemptive cyber strategy.
That seeks to leverage artificial intelligence for maximum national defense and power projection.
Right. They want the best tools with no restrictions.
And on the other side,
On the exact opposite side, you have Anthropic, a company founded by former OpenAI researchers who left explicitly to focus on safety-first principles.
right.
Anthropic is drawing a hard ethical line and saying, we will not allow our technology to be used for autonomous kinetic warfare or mass surveillance.
It's a fundamental incompatibility.
Structural incompatibility between the institution of the state, which demands security through superiority, and the corporate governance of an AI lab, which demands security through restriction.
And the fallout from this collision is literally fracturing the entire tech world.
It's splitting it open.
Because Anthropic isn't just taking this blacklist lying down. I was reading through the court dockets, and Anthropic is officially planning to sue the Department of War over this 10 USC 3252 designation.
That's right.
Their legal argument is really interesting. They are arguing that the statute is supposed to have a very narrow scope,
How narrow?
that it should only apply to government customers who are using their chatbot, Claude, as a direct, active part of Department of War contracts.
Okay.
They are arguing the Pentagon is overreaching by trying to use the designation to taint all of Anthropic's broader, non-military business relationships.
Right. They are fighting it in court.
Mm-hmm.
But from a PR perspective, they are trying to maintain the moral high ground while simultaneously doing intense damage control.
Like what?
For instance, Anthropic actually had to issue a public apology for a leaked internal post that was written by an executive.
Oh, I saw that.
They described the post as being written, quote, on a difficult day.
Yeah.
They admitted the tone of the leaked memo didn't reflect their careful, nuanced views on national security.
They were walking it back.
Big time. And they even went out of their way to offer continued support for warfighters during any transition period away from their software.
So they are trying to thread an incredibly difficult needle here.
Very difficult. They are defying the Pentagon's demands for unrestricted access, but they are terrified of looking openly hostile or unpatriotic to the U.S. military establishment.
Meanwhile, the rest of big tech is essentially forced to choose sides.
Or try not to.
Right, try to walk a very precarious tightrope over the divide. Look at Microsoft and Google.
Okay.
Both companies have come out and publicly stated that their enterprise customers can still access Anthropic's AI tools, including Claude, through their respective cloud platforms.
Completely ignoring the Pentagon's supply chain risk label.
Exactly. Both Microsoft and Google are trying to parse the language, claiming they can safely keep working with Anthropic specifically on non-defense-related commercial projects.
I see why they are trying to maintain those commercial ties, but let's play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
That is a massive risk for Microsoft and Google.
It is.
Both of those companies rely heavily on incredibly lucrative, multi-billion-dollar government and defense contracts.
Right.
The Pentagon could easily decide to punish them for continuing to host Anthropic.
Just cut them off, too.
Exactly. But the executives at Google and Microsoft are facing intense pressure from the bottom up, too.
From their own staff.
Yes. There is a massive grassroots rebellion happening within the tech workforce right now.
Yeah.
The leaked letters show that nearly 500 Google employees and 80 OpenAI staffers have signed an open letter publicly supporting Anthropic's stance against the Pentagon.
Wow.
The actual engineers, the people building the very infrastructure the military wants to buy, are ideologically aligning with Anthropic.
It is forcing these tech executives to tread very, very carefully between angering the Pentagon and sparking a mutiny among their own top talent.
Exactly.
And what about the public? Because everyday users are watching this unfold, and they are voting with their downloads in a way that is just staggering.
Have you seen the numbers?
I pulled the App Store metrics this morning, and this blew my mind. Anthropic's Claude chatbot app has skyrocketed from 42nd place all the way to the #1 most downloaded app on the U.S. App Store in just 2 months.
Number one.
It is currently beating out both OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Gemini.
And if you look at the timeline of the data, the catalyst for this surge is undeniable.
It wasn't a new feature.
It wasn't driven by some flashy new software feature update or a massive marketing campaign.
No.
It was driven entirely by a highly publicized, week-long public clash between Anthropic and the U.S. government.
Specifically, President Trump and Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When Secretary Hegseth publicly went on the offensive and designated Anthropic a supply chain risk to national security,
Right.
and Anthropic publicly pushed back, citing their ethical stance on autonomous weapons, the public rallied behind Anthropic.
It's an incredible dynamic. The consumer base saw private companies stand up to the military-industrial complex and rewarded them by making them the #1 app in the country.
Yeah.
It is a massive, tangible rebuke from everyday users against the institutional weaponization of AI.
But we also have to acknowledge that these institutions can be incredibly petty when they feel their authorities being challenged.
Absolutely.
Just look at what happened with the White House energy pledge.
Okay, let's talk about that.
This is a textbook example of institutional spite.
Yeah.
To set the stage for this, AI data centers require a massive, almost unfathomable amount of electricity to train these models.
Huge power draw.
This sudden spike in demand is putting immense strain on local power grids across the country, which is in turn driving up utility bills for everyday consumers living near these data centers.
Right.
So the White House stepped in to organize a voluntary, highly publicized pledge for major tech companies to cover the AI energy costs their data centers are imposing on regular electricity customers.
Okay.
They held a big signing ceremony, and 7 major players signed on: Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, Oracle, xAI, and OpenAI.
But notice who is glaringly missing from that list.
Anthropic.
Anthropic was purposefully excluded from the White House signing ceremony, and the justification given was that supply chain risk label from the Pentagon.
But the irony here is just dripping off the situation. Because when you actually read the text of the White House pledge, it carries absolutely no legal penalties.
None.
The White House has no actual jurisdiction over independent state utility commissions.
So the pledge is entirely toothless.
It's purely symbolic.
Exactly. Enforcement of grid pricing falls to the exact same local state regulators who are already struggling to manage the rising bills.
Right.
The federal government can't force them to do anything. But here is the kicker.
What's that?
Anthropic, the company intentionally banned from the photo op, had already made the most concrete, financially binding commitment of anyone in the entire industry prior to the event.
Wow.
They had publicly pledged to cover 100% of consumer price increases caused by their specific data centers.
So the political institution prioritized punishing Anthropic for defying the military over actually celebrating the company that was offering the most tangible, verifiable protection for the everyday consumer's wallet.
It clearly demonstrates that for the state, demanding control and compliance is vastly more important than the actual public utility of the technology.
Absolutely.
So if we look at the board right now, we have the courts trying to legally define AI out of existence as an independent agent.
Right.
And we have the military trying to forcefully draft it into compliance as a weapon.
Yes.
But how do you actually enforce control over a digital intelligence that lives in the cloud?
You have to get physical.
The answer is physical. You have to control the physical pathways the AI uses to reach the end user.
Exactly.
You have to physically institutionalize it, which brings us to the concept of hardware integration and the closed loop.
This is critical.
Ask yourself this. If you were a massive tech giant, how do you get a fully autonomous desktop agent, like the GPT-5.4 model we talked about earlier, into the hands of millions of people while maintaining total undeniable control over what it does?
You control the endpoint.
A hardware.
You control the physical hardware the user touches. And this week, Apple made a hardware move that is going to fundamentally reshape the consumer AI landscape.
What did they do?
They announced the MacBook Neo. This is a brand new laptop that completely replaces the 13-inch MacBook Air as their entry-level option.
The new baseline.
But the absolute headline here is the price point. It is debuting at $599.
$599 for a brand new, current generation Apple laptop.
Yeah.
That is a massive, aggressive price drop compared to the $1,099 NAM 5 MacBook Air it is replacing.
It's unheard of for them.
Let's look at the loose specs because they tell a very specific story.
Okay.
The MacBook Neo does not use one of Apple's powerful M-series desktop chips.
Right.
It uses an Apple A18 Pro processor, which is essentially a scaled-up iPhone chip.
Sure.
It features a 6-core CPU and 5 GP cores. But here is the massive catch. The machine is strictly physically limited to 8 GB of memory.
8 GB.
It comes in 4 colors, silver, indigo, blush, and citrus, and it is hitting retail stores on March 11th. But why the memory cap? Why intentionally handicap a brand new machine with only 8 GB of RAM?
We have to analyze what a $599 Apple endpoint with only 8 GB of RAM actually means for artificial intelligence.
Okay.
By utilizing the A18 Pro chip, an architecture derived from their mobile line, not their high-end desktop line, and rigidly limiting the memory, Apple is intentionally creating a highly specific, constrained hardware environment.
Okay.
They are significantly lowering the financial barrier to entry for the mass market.
Right.
A $599 price point gets this machine into underfunded public schools, into tight budget small businesses, and into the hands of millions of consumers who simply couldn't justify a $1,000 laptop.
But with only 8 GB of memory, you aren't running any of these massive open source, uncensored AI models locally on the physical machine.
Not a chance.
You just don't have the RAM to load the model.
Precisely. And that is the entire point. Because you can't run third-party models locally, you are forced to rely on Apple's deeply integrated, highly optimized, and entirely cloud-tethered AI ecosystem.
It creates what we call a closed loop.
Yes.
Apple controls the physical silicon, they control the operating system, they control the API calls that send your prompts up to the cloud. And now they are completely dominating the entry-level hardware market.
They are mass distributing a beautifully designed Trojan horse.
Wow.
It makes their specific flavor of institutionalized, carefully guardrailed, heavily filtered AI the absolute default interface for millions of people.
You only get the AI that Apple wants you to have.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for the companies actually building the foundation models?
Pay attention.
Well, they are looking at Apple's incredibly successful closed loop, and they realize they need to build their own.
Yeah.
And we're seeing OpenAI actively trying to bite the hand that feeds it in order to build its own closed ecosystem.
This is a wild story.
I was looking through the developer news, and OpenAI is currently developing a code hosting platform that will compete directly with GitHub.
This is an incredibly aggressive, almost hostile maneuver in the enterprise space.
Yeah.
GitHub is the central nervous system of the global software development community.
It's where everything lives.
It's where the world's code is stored, tested, and shared. But if we look at the network data from the past few months, OpenAI's move follows a series of severe, highly disruptive service outages at GitHub.
Oh, right.
We are talking about deep network faults that severely degraded GitHub actions, broken connections with their AI copilot, and massive Azure server configuration problems that cascaded across multiple geographic regions, locking developers out of their own work.
That's a nightmare for developers.
OpenAI is essentially looking at this instability and saying, the current legacy infrastructure is too unstable for the AI era, so we are going to build our own from the ground up.
But here's the massive geopolitical tech problem staring them in the face.
Microsoft.
Microsoft owns GitHub.
Microsoft also holds a massive financial stake in OpenAI. And Microsoft provides the Azure cloud server infrastructure that OpenAI entirely depends on to train and run its massive models.
This raises an incredibly important question. How long can this marriage of convenience actually last?
It seems unsustainable. OpenAI is utilizing Microsoft's billions of dollars and Microsoft's massive compute power to build a direct, existential rival to Microsoft's most important developer platform.
The corporate tension here is astronomical.
Yeah.
OpenAI clearly wants full vertical control of the entire developer ecosystem.
They want it all.
They don't just want to provide the intelligence via an API.
Right.
They want to own the physical platform where the code is hosted, where it's tested, and where it's deployed.
They want the closed loop.
And we are already seeing the foundational pieces of this GitHub rival rolling out to the public.
Let's talk about Codex.
Yeah, I was looking at this new tool OpenAI just launched called Codex Security.
Right.
This was previously an internal OpenAI project codenamed Aardvark.
Okay.
It is a new feature built inside their Codex programming assistant, and its entire job is to help developers find and fix code vulnerabilities.
Okay.
But I don't fully get how it's different from a regular antivirus scan or a standard code checker. How does this thing actually work?
The technical mechanics of Codex Security are brilliant. And they show exactly how OpenAI plans to dominate and eventually replace traditional security analysts.
Oh, so.
When you run a traditional security scanner, it usually just looks for known text strings or common patterns of bad code.
Right, like searching for a keyword.
Exactly. Codex security is entirely different. When it scans a developer's repository, it actually copies the entire code base into an isolated, secure container.
A sandbox.
Yes. It then uses its advanced reasoning to build a complex threat model describing how the entire program functions in the real world.
Okay.
Then, it actively attacks its own sandbox, testing the discovered flaws to filter out false positives before finally ranking the true vulnerabilities by severity for the human developer.
So it's not just a scanner. It's an autonomous digital security researcher actively hacking the code to see what breaks.
Exactly.
And OpenAI is aggressively pushing this out. They are making it available as a research preview for their ChatGPT Enterprise, Business, and Edu tiers.
And this is the crucial part. They are giving it away for free to open source project maintainers.
Free.
They are aggressively courting the bedrock of the developer community, trying to entice them to migrate away from GitHub and into the OpenAI ecosystem.
But to run all of this,
It's
to
power.
process GPT-5.4's million token window, to run Codex Security's complex sandboxing environments, to host a potential global GitHub rival.
You need massive physical terrestrial infrastructure.
Right.
You need data centers the size of shopping malls and power grids capable of running small cities.
And the raw data shows a massive reshuffling happening in the physical world to secure these resources.
Oh, yeah.
For months, analysts have tracked the planned expansion of a flagship AI data center in Abilene, Texas, which was supposed to be a massive joint venture between Oracle and OpenAI.
Right.
But those plans have officially been dropped.
The reports indicate the negotiations stalled over deep financing issues and sudden shifts in OpenAI's specific infrastructure needs as they scale up.
But nature abhors a vacuum.
And so does big tech.
Meta is now swooping in to claim the territory.
They are?
They're actively considering leasing that exact planned expansion site in Abilene from the real estate developer, Crusoe.
Okay.
And NVIDIA, the company that makes the highly coveted AI chips everyone is fighting over,
Right.
is right there in the middle, helping to facilitate the talks between Meta and Crusoe.
NVIDIA is actively paying a $150 million deposit just to secure a guarantee that its chips will be the ones filling the facility, regardless of who ends up leasing it.
It is a high-stakes game of multi-billion-dollar musical chairs.
It is. Now, we should clarify for you listening that the broader, massive 4.5 gigawatt data center capacity deal between Oracle and OpenAI is still on track.
Right.
They're just abandoning the Abilene site and moving to other locations, including a major project near Detroit.
Okay.
But this constant, frantic maneuvering for physical land, power access, and silicon allocation proves a vital point.
What's that?
The institutions that control the physical world, the local power companies, the real estate developers, the silicon foundries, they have immense, undeniable leverage over the AI companies.
Because the cloud is a metaphor.
Exactly. The data actually have to live somewhere on the ground. And if you don't control the ground, you don't control the AI.
Which brings us perfectly to our final section today.
The users.
We've talked about the courts enforcing copyright, the military wielding blacklists, Apple dominating the hardware, and the tech giants fighting over data centers.
Yeah.
But the most unpredictable, chaotic institution of all is the everyday consumer.
You.
And the friction between what users actually want to do with this technology and the rigid guardrails these corporations are forcing on them is causing a massive consumer backlash.
It's a huge issue right now.
We are seeing the reality of AI in the wild, and it is messy.
It really is. The theory of AI alignment and the reality of consumer interaction are colliding violently.
Look at OpenAI.
Let's look at OpenAI's recent scramble. They just had to rush release a new model update called GPT-5.3 Instant.
Right.
And the reason they had to release it is incredibly telling about user sentiment. It wasn't about making the model mathematically smarter or giving it a larger context window.
Okay.
It was a behavioral patch designed specifically to cut down on what users were aggressively calling the cringe and the preachy disclaimers that had infected the previous version.
The previous model, GPT 5.2 Instant, was apparently driving people absolutely crazy.
It was.
The feedback logs show that the model sounded incredibly condescending, particularly when users were just asking for straightforward, mundane information.
Give us an example.
Imagine you're rushing to finish an Excel macro 10 minutes before a board meeting, your hair is on fire, and you ask the chatbot for a quick formula.
Right.
Instead of just giving you the code, the AI hits you with unsolicited therapy speak, phrases like "you're not broken," and literally gives you an unprompted reminder to take a deep breath before you continue working.
I would honestly throw my laptop out the nearest window.
And you wouldn't be the only one.
Yeah.
This exact frustration birthed what industry analysts have been calling the Quit GPT movement.
People just leaving.
Users were so fed up that they were actually canceling their $20 a month paid subscriptions over the tone.
It's over the tone.
They were abandoning the platform entirely because they felt they were being condescended to by a piece of software.
It proves a vital point about the consumer institution.
What's that?
Consumers flat out refuse to be treated like fragile patients by a corporate AI.
Yeah.
They are paying for a tool, an assistant, an accelerator, not an unprompted life coach programmed by a corporate risk management legal team terrified of liability.
So OpenAI had to pivot hard and fast.
They did.
With GPT 5.3 Instant, they explicitly focused on fixing tone, relevance, and conversational flow.
As the release notes pointed out, these are highly subjective areas that don't show up on standard benchmark tests.
Like the OS World tests we discussed earlier.
Right, but they directly affect how frustrating or pleasant the AI feels to interact with daily.
Okay.
OpenAI essentially had to deprioritize their strict standard safety and alignment metrics just to stop the bleeding of their paid subscriber base.
The consumers threw their way around, and they forced the institution to back down.
But while OpenAI is scaling back the cringe and actively trying to be less intrusive in your life,
Meta is moving in the exact opposite direction.
Meta is escalating the creepiness of their data collection to an almost dystopian level.
We have to talk about the massive controversies surrounding the Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses.
This is genuinely alarming.
I was reading through the privacy reports, and these Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses are capturing private video recordings from the wearer's perspective and sending them straight to human data workers.
Human workers.
And we aren't just talking about generic videos of trees or sidewalks.
How?
The reports state that highly sensitive footage, nude scenes, sex clips, sensitive banking details visible on a screen are being recorded by the glasses and sent to data workers located in Nairobi, Kenya.
Wow.
These workers are contracted through a data services company called Sama.
To understand why this is happening, you have to understand how computer vision models are trained.
Okay, explain that.
An AI doesn't just naturally know what a coffee cup or a stop sign is.
Right.
Human workers, in this case the contractors at Sama, are tasked with reviewing these raw videos to manually label and categorize objects.
Okay.
They highlight a shape and type dog or car. This labeled data is then fed back into Meta's AI vision models to make them smarter.
But what about privacy filters?
Now, Meta claims they protect users by using automatic face blurring and strict privacy filters before the humans ever see the footage.
What?
But the workers at Sama are blowing the whistle, saying that those automatic filters are failing constantly, especially when the lighting conditions are difficult or the movement is too fast.
It is an absolute privacy nightmare for the everyday bystander.
Imagine you're at the ATM typing in your PIN, or you're at the beach, and someone wearing these glasses just happens to look in your direction.
Yeah.
Your most private moments are captured, unblurred, and routed to a contractor thousands of miles away.
Data privacy lawyers in Europe are already sounding the alarm over this.
I bet.
They are warning that regular bystanders have no idea the glasses are actively recording when the wearer triggers the AI assistant to ask a question.
Right.
The lawyers are citing a complete lack of transparency and arguing there is zero legal basis for processing this highly sensitive personal data under stringent European privacy laws.
The irony here is thick enough to cut with a knife.
How so?
Think back to the first half of our deep dive. You have Anthropic willing to go to war with the Pentagon, get blacklisted, and risk their entire lucrative government revenue stream strictly because they ethically refuse to allow their AI to be used for state-sponsored mass domestic surveillance.
Right.
But over at Meta, they are accidentally crowdsourcing a global decentralized mass surveillance network through popular consumer hardware.
Wow.
They are piping the most intimate private moments of their users and bystanders' lives to contractors in Kenya, all just to get slightly better training data for their computer vision algorithms.
And what is Meta actually doing with all this AI power?
Good question.
What is the ultimate end goal of collecting all this incredibly invasive behavioral data and video?
Look at the latest software test they just rolled out.
Okay.
The internal memos note that Meta is quietly testing a new AI-powered shopping research feature directly inside its Meta AI chatbot.
This shopping tool is currently browser-only and limited to a very small test group of U.S. users.
Right.
If you ask it for product recommendations, it shows dynamic carousels with images, current prices, and tailored suggestions.
Interestingly, the buy button inside the chat interface is currently non-functional. It just acts as a hyperlink that routes you out to the external retailer sites.
They are essentially trying to build a rival to the AI shopping tools already launched by OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Gemini.
Right.
And yes, Meta is arriving roughly 4 months late to this specific party compared to ChatGPT's shopping launch. They are late to secure the major retailer partnerships.
I see why you might dismiss them as being late, but let's play devil's advocate. You cannot underestimate Meta in the e-commerce space.
That's true.
They may be late to the chat-based shopping interface, but they're bringing a weapon no one else has.
The data.
The combined, deeply granular behavioral data of 3.2 billion daily active users across Facebook Shops, Instagram Shopping, and WhatsApp.
That is an insane amount of data.
They're leveraging an ocean of human behavior, tracking what you linger on, what you click, and what you buy.
It proves a somewhat cynical point.
What's up?
Despite all the lofty philosophical talk from Silicon Valley about artificial general intelligence curing diseases and solving humanity's grandest challenges,
Yeah.
the ultimate immediate goal for many of these massive institutions remains pure, unadulterated e-commerce dominance.
We want the most advanced intelligence in human history to accurately guide your wallet to the checkout page.
It really does always come back to the wallet.
Always.
So let's pull all of these massive disparate threads together.
To do it.
The era of AI simply being a quirky, experimental chatbot you play with in your web browser is definitively over.
It's done.
It is now the central, most hotly contested battleground of the institutional world.
We've seen it everywhere today.
We've seen it at the center of U.S. Supreme Court battles over the very philosophical definition of human authorship and creativity.
We've seen it trigger Pentagon blacklists and spark a massive tech worker rebellion over the future of autonomous kinetic warfare.
We've seen it drive the rollout of mass-market, closed-loop consumer hardware like the $599 MacBook Neo.
And ignite multi-billion-dollar infrastructure wars over Texas data centers and developer platforms like GitHub.
And we've seen everyday consumers fighting back, aggressively canceling subscriptions over condescending corporate guardrails,
while simultaneously grappling with the terrifying real-world privacy implications of wearable tech recording their most private moments for an e-commerce algorithm.
It is a chaotic, multi-front war for total control.
And it leaves us with a critical, almost existential puzzle to solve as we look toward the horizon.
Okay.
I want you to really think about this as you go about your week.
Lay it on us.
If AI systems become deeply physically integrated into our daily hardware, like the limited memory MacBook Neo,
Right.
and if they manage to autonomously control our underlying code infrastructure through systems like OpenAI's new GitHub rival.
Okay.
But the courts adamantly refuse to ever grant them legal authorship, and world governments aggressively demand they be weaponized for national security.
Wow.
Will the future of artificial intelligence actually be defined by how smart the technology gets? Or will it simply be defined by which human institution successfully cages it first?
That is the multi-trillion-dollar question.
It really is.
And it's one we are going to be tracking every single step of the way as the data comes in.
I want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the source material today.
Thanks for being here.
Your time and attention mean the absolute world to us. Keep questioning the tools you use, pay very close attention to who actually controls the hardware you rely on, and above all else, stay curious. We will catch you next time.
That concludes our weekly rundown for the first week of March 2026. The signal for this week is sovereign friction. We are seeing models become more autonomous, while governments become more restrictive. This episode was made possible by Jamgamind. If you found this weekly summary valuable, but want to skip the ads next time, join our premium Jamgamind ads-free feed on Apple Podcasts. I'm Etienne Numen. Until next week, keep unraveling the future. And before you go, If your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.